The Utah Utes should not be happy with the Big 12 for passing on Memphis. Why is that? I'm going to tell you on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If it's your first time listening to this show, make sure you like and subscribe. My name is JT Wistrcill, and on today's show, we're talking about expansion also, which is something that I didn't really expect us to be talking about at this point, but it was a topic that was brought up today because Memphis wanted to join the Big 12. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reported that in the most lucrative membership proposal in college sports history, Memphis has made a $200 million offer to enter the Big 12. And for now, Ross Dellinger does that, though. For now, it does not have enough support, but potentially sets a standard for all future expansion. First of all, wow. Once again, they wanted to pay $200 million to get into the conference. Actually, if you dive more into this is what Memphis was offering the Big 12 and why I believe it was a mistake by the Big 12. And I will say the Big 12 presidents were the ones that voted this. You needed 12 of 16 to allow membership. So there is a chance. I don't think they will ever release, because I don't think they've ever done this in the past, like who voted no on this. It's quite possible that Utah voted no on this too. So in that instance, I would agree I would also be including Utah in my group that I disagree with it. But I don't, like I said, to me, if you're the schools, and I'm generally surprised the schools did say no, I just think it makes a lot of sense to add Memphis based on what they were offering. I wasn't saying add Memphis before as an equal member, but based on what Memphis wanted to offer, this is a pretty dang good deal. I'm going to explain it, and then you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. Memphis offered a no-risk concept, zero distribution for 5 years. The Big 12 would be paying Memphis nothing for the next 5 years. $3 million annually to each Big 12 school. So each Big 12 school is getting $3 extra million just for including Memphis. Doesn't matter, even for football, right? Like obviously Utah wouldn't play Memphis every single year, but they'd still get $3 million from Memphis. $3 million annually each year, and subject itself to expulsion. This might be the craziest thing they offered. They were willing to say, we'll pay you $200 million. And if you still don't want us by the end of this 5-year deal, we are willing to let you kick us to the curb. They were willing to say by 2030, if the Big 12 didn't see them as valuable, you can get rid of us. That's insane. I mean, I know that if you include another member, like by the time we get to a 2030, right? Like then you're divvying up the rights. And I guess it's uneven if you add another member, although we could talk about that in a second. But I just feel like it was a mistake. I genuinely think, as I mentioned, like if you would come to me and said, do you want Memphis right now? I'd say no, but while also keeping in mind, like I have respect for Memphis's brand. Last 2 years, they've won 20 games combined. And over the last 11 years, they have 3 10-win seasons. Or actually, I think that's 4, but either 3, 4, whatever it is. So really impressive numbers that they have put together. Like Memphis has been a team kind of routinely. That's where Mike Norvell was at before he went to Florida State. So Memphis has kind of routinely been a thorn in the side of teams, and they've been ranked in the top 25 before. Like they've had good years, just like last year. They've been towards the top of the American. So I like it. I think they could add something pretty quick, but I think the reason the school said no is so Utah got $50 million from the Big 12 this year when you combine just bowl fees, the TV deal money, which Utah gets $30 million. Fun fact, I forgot while researching it, BYU only got $19 million this year. They don't get a full share because at the time, right, independent, they were not. I'm sorry, BYU fans, but this is just a matter of fact. Like Utah was a more valuable addition to the Big 12 at the time than a BYU was. Utah was coming off back-to-back Pac-12 titles. BYU was an independent. Obviously, BYU had more success last year, but there's a reason that Utah was initially given that more money, the full share allowed versus BYU had to take lesser. This year, everyone gets a fair share, which is obviously that's how it should be. Like you shouldn't, if they wanted to propose something that based on results athletically, you got slightly different amounts, I think I'd be down for that, but we shouldn't have 4 members of this conference making substantially less than the other ones. But anyway, so Yeah, I just think the reason they didn't do it is they didn't want to split that money up. I think they look at it as, look, I think most of you who follow college football trends know what I'm about to say. Utah and all of the Big 12 members, when the next Big 12 media rights deal expires, and we're doing this all again in 2031, 2030, whatever it is, everyone's getting a raise. Like, everyone's going to be making more money. TV revenue, all of that, only going up. So whoever does this deal is only, if you're in the Big 12, you're only getting a raise. So I guess the reason the Big 12 must have said no was they looked at it and said, even though we'll get more money, eventually we'll have to share with you, and that takes away more from us, and that doesn't boost, and you don't boost our brand enough, which to me, and I know there's some interesting things with Memphis as a TV market, because like the Memphis Grizzlies, I know they don't do great. There was an interesting stat a few weeks ago, and NBA versus college football, totally get that. But the Lakers TV deal in 1 week outgrosses like the Grizzlies for the entire season. So that's obviously a crazy stat. So how Memphis sports teams are viewed in general, that's a broader conversation. But number one, it is college football. Number two, Memphis has a chance to be good. And Memphis has been really good. I mean, I talked about that they've had those 3 or 4 years over the last 10 where they've won 10 games or 11 games. Like, you compare that to Houston. Houston's only done it, and UCF have only done it 3 times in that span too. So it's kind of equal value there. Obviously, Houston adds more from a football sense, and they're in a basketball sense, they're in a bigger city, and Houston's obviously trending up now. But UCF, and they offer more because of Orlando, I guess, in a way too, maybe. And they've had good football years in the past, but even them, I think Memphis could get in the Big 12 right away, and I think it would take them a year or two, just like it did for BYU, right? It took BYU a year, basically, and then they were right up there towards the top of the conference. I think that's all it could take a Memphis. Memphis, to me, could easily contend right away. And if you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, 17 is a weird number to add, I agree. Let's go 18. What's stopping the Big 12 from adding a Coastal Carolina, a Tulane, whoever you want to make it, another one of these teams that has a tradition of being pretty good in the American, and I think could transition and swing on the upward trend. And I know Tulane's not, and Coastal probably aren't as attractive, so why not go for a bigger fish? Why not go get Army? Army, I do feel like, is an attractive brand because of the service academy and all the things that represents there. If you could maybe even, you want to get Army Navy, you want to get Air Force, whatever, that's attractive thing. And the other thing I would suggest, and I don't know if Army would want to do this, but the reason I would be interested in those brands is if they would be offering the same thing. I wouldn't just go grab them for the sake of expansion, but if they're willing to offer the same thing. So now, instead of the conference is getting just $200 million from Memphis, they're getting $400 million when you combine what Memphis is willing to offer versus what the other group of 5 school you're bringing in is willing to offer. So then it's an extra $6 million per year for your individual university. I understand that once again, once that revenue is set to expire, or the new revenue deal, you're divvying up more and your schools aren't making as much. But I think the chance for growth is even more so when I look at a team like a Memphis and the chance they can bring and adding another school too. I think there is a chance for more money when you expand. Like we said, you take away some of the money those schools already get. But I think Memphis would be a really good ad. And then I would, like I mentioned, try to go after Army and see if they'd offer the exact same thing too. And yeah, I know that it's something that they said no on already, and doesn't sound like, at least at the moment, that Memphis is going to be a member of the Big 12. But I think this is a mistake by the Big 12 to not increase their revenue in the short term for what I do believe is long-term gain, because once again, this wouldn't cost them anything for the next 5 years. And then Memphis is saying, hey, we could be even better. We want to kick it till 2030 till we're better and up to standard. And by the time they're better and up to standard, then everyone's making more money and profiting to me. So I think they should have done this, but I understand that they wanted the money for themselves as a business model. I can understand that. Like I said, I disagree with it. I think Memphis, this would be a good deal for all the Big 12's tools. And by the time that Memphis, that 5 years passes, they would want to keep Memphis in, and the conference would be worth even more. I think Memphis would have bolstered this conference, as they already are one of the top group of 5 teams. I think they could play in the P4, but Big 12 decided not to in this one. One thing we know about Utah is they're trying to be the best in the Big 12. One of the reasons they'll have a chance to do that is just how good Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu are. They're continuing to earn preseason accolades. We're going to talk about that and what makes those two individuals such fantastic college football players in one moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. College football season is right around the corner, but while we wait, still a lot of great sporting events going on. And have you ever just decide at the last minute you want to head to a ballpark with some friends and family? Well, maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize, hey, you want to be in the stands, not just watching from your TV. That's where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Price on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a low price guarantee. And it takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticket partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. Also, Game Time has last-minute ticket and zone deals for big savings, like 10% off exclusive zone deals for the FIFA Club World Cup matches. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all caps, no spaces, for $20 off the first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price is guaranteed with Game Time. Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu are really good at college football. I'm not breaking any news there, but just how good they are, in some ways it might surprise you. Not only do most way too early NFL mock drafts have those two guys going as first-round picks next year, Spencer Fano in particular being, like a lot of people, he's buzzing around in the top 10 there. But Spencer Fano was voted by Pro Football Focus as their fifth best college football player, the best offensive line in the country. In fact, if you look at Trevor Siekmas, or I'm sorry, I've just pronounced his last name badly, but he's a PFF guy. If you look at his top 10 offensive tackles for next year's draft, Spencer Fano's one, Miami player, Caden Proctor from Bama, Caleb Lomu 4. So you're telling me 2 of the top 5 offensive linemen in the country for the 26 NFL draft are Utah Utes. That's fantastic. And yes, that's been reported for a little bit, obviously, that how high people are on this, but I don't know if we've taken a full second to appreciate like how big and how good this is for Utah. I did shows last week on how special I think Devin Dampier is going to be. And genuinely, I think the rest of this team has a chance to be really special, not just because of Devin Dampier and this offense chance to be really good, but because of the time he's going to be given. Devin Dampier was only sacked 5 times last season, an entire college football season. And that was going against some P4 teams too. So now he's going to get the chance to be behind an even better offensive line, year 2 with his offensive coordinator, and a nice running back too in Wayshawn Parker, if I do say so myself. And yeah, I mentioned it before. I have some questions about the interior. I think Mokafisi and Tongai are solid, and I want to see more from Kump. I've said that repeatedly, but I still think this is going to be a good offensive line. I just don't know if it's going to be like top 5, top 10. I think it can be top 10. I just, like I said, you got to be so good. But I don't, right now, as we sit here, Utah is the best tackle duo in the country. Have we ever been able to say that? That's like mind-boggling. That's how good Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu are. You might be listening to this podcast too, and you're like, okay, what makes Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu so good? Well, one thing I would say is also, like, if you want to know what makes Spencer Fano good, you can check out my interview with him last week. I had him on Locked On Utes. He talked about his game, and he's a great guy too. Like, really, just someone really easy to root for. And it's easy to root for him too because he's really dang good at the game too. So, an amazing person and an amazing player go hand in hand together too. And has this fun singing voice. He sang for us a little bit too, as he's been doing here frequently. But what makes those guys so good? Number one, footwork, technique, phenomenal. Like those guys, when you just turn on the tape and you're like, how should an offensive lineman move? It's Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu. It's the short, choppy steps. It's the good get off. It's good pad level. It's good pass set, a good anchor so you're not getting overpowered. It's just a good job mirroring defenders, cutting them off. Good hand placement constantly. Good tenacity, leg drive. Spencer Fano last week on my show spoke about the best feeling in the world is when you have a defensive lineman wrapped up and you're just driving him against his will 10, 15 yards down the field. Hard to disagree with him too when he's the way he was talking about that. But those two are so good and athletic as well. So one thing that you can do when you have really athletic tackles is everyone pulls guards, but if you can pull tackles, that allows a new element and dynamic to your game and allows you to open up more space, especially if you want to get like a certain screen going on the outside and you want to get like your offensive lineman out there. Even though it's just a spot guard tackle, it is still just an easier path to get your tackle out there. Sometimes it's hard because you have a defensive end in front of him, but there are ways you can get around that. So if you have an athletic tackle who can truly get out there and make that block, that opens up things because they can get out there and make that block. And then you have an offensive lineman on a cornerback to try and jumpstart and spring your screen pass. So that's something you can do with both Fano, Lomu. They can pull a goal over the place. I mean, Fano's so athletic, he caught a touchdown last year. Like, that's the kind of special athlete we're talking about there. So these guys are so good too. And the other thing that's nice, and I think the thing that Devin Dampier is going to very much enjoy playing with this Utah offense is that he is going to have so much time available to him in the pocket. And he's also a master of buying time. That's maybe it'll be even a slight adjustment to him is how much it's going to have to be. Hey, Devin, stay in the pocket. Like, don't run. Like, don't try to do anything crazy. Nothing, like, stay in the pocket because he does very well off script. And he's not going to have to go scramble around just running for his life back there like crazy because his pocket is in very safe hands with those two offensive linemen. They can hold up in pass protection forever. I was watching some film of each of those guys earlier today, and man, like, it's just their one-on-one assignment, pass protection, run game. They're blowing them off the ball. They're widening rushing lanes and holes too. Like, the run could be to the left, and Spencer Fano washes the defensive end or blasts the defensive tackle so far off the ball that he creates another hole of his own. Same thing for Caleb Lomu too, right? And Lomu's so important too because he's the backside protector for Devin Dampier. So then you get your quarterback too. You don't want the worst thing that can happen, right? Is the quarterback goes back to pass and that defensive lineman comes around and knocks that ball loose because blind spot, QB couldn't see him. That's not an issue as much with Lomu and Fano and not blind spot, but either way, like, you just don't have to worry about those defensive linemen getting around the edges. It's going to be a very clean pocket for Devin Dampier, especially like if you want to really make sure it's extra clean. If the interior offensive line does have some of those slumps that I kind of spoke on, that I do think it's possible that they could get into, then isn't it pretty nice then that you can have Naquari Rogers, Wayshawn Parker, whatever is your pass protecting back. So then basically you have three guys to take away the A and B gap A and B gap. And then your C gap, is completely fine. A gap between center guard, B gap between guard tackle, C gap is on the outside of the tackle. Like, you don't have to worry about that edge pressure most of the time, which is very nice if you're Utah, that you have two amazing offensive linemen that are going to keep the pocket clean. And not only that, what else are they going to do? Well, not just keep the pocket clean, but then you have the QB who's going to be able to make the miraculous play and the miraculous throw. It's going to open up so much for Jason Beck having an offensive line this good too, because Devin Dampier was an incredible talent, and last year in New Mexico, and the Lobos were able to run the ball very effectively. And I think Utah is going to have a ton of success running the ball this coming season. Teams are definitely going to pack the box against Utah, but Utah just has a couple of guys that need to win one-on-one, and Ryan Davis was able to do it at the G5 level a little bit a year ago. Larry Simmons is a guy who's already turning heads. Smith Snowden, an interview that'll drop tomorrow. It was supposed to drop today, but this Big 12 news dropped, so I wanted to talk about that. Larry Simmons is a guy a lot of people are high on as well too, right? Tobias Merriweather could be Utah's wide receiver one. You get Otto Tia, acting as this new kind of tight end hybrid, but he's just got the wide receiver skill. It's going to be a mismatch for a lot of linebackers. So Utah's got more than enough guys to me that not have to, like, it doesn't have to be, Tobias Merriweather win one-on-one or we're doomed. Like, you have lots of guys that can win in that one-on-one coverage, and you're going to get a lot of one-on-one because teams are going to have to pack the box to try and stop this run game. The biggest reason that is these two offensive linemen. Also, just speaking of them, like, we got Fano a touchdown last year. Would love to give him one again. Let's give Caleb Lomu one too. I really think that it'd be sick if we give both those guys that. And the other thing that's so cool about having this talent in the trenches is so often you hear the discussions about whether it's the SEC or the Big Ten talk about, like, we got the higher recruits, we're bigger, we're stronger, all of that. Well, Utah has the best tackle duo, so are you really bigger and stronger than Utah? I don't think so, but they're going to try to claim that. A lot of those schools will, and I think it's pretty cool that Utah can shoot those arguments down pretty quickly. One argument that you can easily shoot down is that Kyle Whittingham is depicted accurately in College Football 25. We're going to be talking about his avatar that was crafted for him, and it's quite the avatar. We'll say that. We're going to talk about that in one moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money just felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch can put you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, so you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. With Monarch Money, one thing that I just absolutely love, right, is having it all in one place. It just makes it so much easier to keep my finances organized. I'm always at the end of the month, I'm always just like, dang, where did all my money go right before payday comes? And that's what Monarch Money helps me realize is throughout the month, I'm like, okay, doing a better job tracking and seeing what I'm spending. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year when you use Monarch Money today. Alrighty, Kyle Whittingham is in EA Sports College Football 26, and he is not looking like himself, not surprisingly. They did give him the beard. But it's like a thin beard. It's not a Kyle Whittingham beard. I don't know if Kyle still hasn't missed a gym workout in however many days, but if that is the case, he's depicted very accurately here. They gave him good muscles, everything there. And I saw him Big 12 Media Day. He was looking good. So I think that's the case, but yeah, it's not. This is what's funny about these avatars. They know the concept, like EA knows the concept of the game sells itself. It's called, you get to play and be in a college football atmosphere. You get to play as your college football team, the quarterback, all that. You don't care that your coach looks exactly like he does in real life. Madden's been doing this with their coach graphics for years. It's actually weird that Bill Belichick and Deion Sanders both declined to be in the game, which I thought was definitely strange. But yeah, so it's just funny to see the avatar for Kyle, because of course it's not Kyle. Like, it doesn't look anything like Kyle, but I'm not really surprised that it does look that way, because it's hard to depict those things accurately. Kyle probably doesn't even care. I think he reacted to it at Big 12 Media Day at some point. I wasn't able to find the clip of that earlier. So yep, it's just kind of funny that when you look back at us and be like, oh yeah, that's Kyle Whittingham. Like, if you showed me that with no coach, like, I'd have no idea. They did do Jay Hill. He looks a little more like himself, but even he, like, it just looks like a generic football coach in BYU gear. So it's definitely still not the most accurate thing in the world. So that's where it's funny to view that. But I do think that I think it's cool Kyle Whittingham's in a game. And I do think it's cool you can play as Utah football. I've actually yet to play EA Sports College Football 26. So for all of you that have, let me know in the comments what you think of it. I would love to do, like, it'd be so cool if you could do, I don't think you can do this in the game. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. If you could do like an all-time team, that'd be so cool. If we could do, because I remember that when I played 2K, like, that was one of my favorite things to do, is do an all-time team, right? Like, if we could have Alex Smith at QB, you know, like, for just top of my head, Zach Moss at running back. Yes, there's other running backs you could do. I want to do Zach Moss. And then on the outside, you get like Steve Smith. You're throwing it up to him. How about the Utah defenses you could do? You could get crazy, like Eric Weddle, like Julian Blackman, Cole Bishop, whatever, like safety tandem you'd want back there. Sione Vaki is like your returner or something. Like, that would just be sick if you can do that. I'd love to do that. At some point, I want to do a Utah Mount Rushmore. Haven't gotten the chance to do that yet on this show. So who do you guys feel should be on the Utah Mount Rushmore? Let me know in the comments below, because would be interested to hear the arguments. I am pleased that Utah is putting more people into their Ring of Honor. It is not Eric Weddle still, if I'm correct, which I thought was an interesting choice, because he's just so synonymous with the Utah football brand at this point too. I think he was at Big 12 Media Days as well too, which is cool. I think I could be wrong on that, but always cool just whenever Eric Weddle's around. It's just cool that Utah has so many guys with NFL ties, as well as boomed in college football, that they're in the position that they are, where they're looked at by many people as a team likely to bounce back. I mean, a lot of the betting sites have obviously, and our friends at FanDuel being a key one, have predicted that Utah is is the favorite to win the Big 12, which is crazy. But at the same time, you get the Big 12, it's the conference of parity. So anything is possible. And that's where and not even anything's possible, right? I think Utah's making the Big 12 title game as we stand here now. Every play I watch of Devin Dampier, I'll say as well, I get closer to predicting them to win it. By the time the season rolls around, I'm probably going to do so, because I'm just going to look at it like, how can I host a Utah show? And if Utah wins the Big 12 and I didn't predict them to win it, because I think they've got a really talented team, and I think they very well could win it. We know how good the defense is, and and even if they take a slight step back, as I've said before, they were the second best defense in this conference. I still think they're going to be a top 5 defense. I just don't expect them to be a top 3. I don't expect them to be a top 2. I think 3 is very likely, but it's hard for me to see them being exactly as good as they were last year, especially with the defensive line questions they have. But I love to be proven wrong on this show, especially when stuff like that, and not when I was proven wrong last year about Utah winning the Big 12. That was not as fun. So prove me wrong in that sense, Utah defense. But you pair that with Devin Dampier, great offensive line, and it just feels like this team is going to win at least 3 more games than they won last year, if not more. I don't see how Utah goes worse than 8-5 barring injuries, or 8-4, barring injuries. And honestly, I see 9-3, 10-2 is what I've been leaning on for a while for predictions for this team. But drop your guys' predictions below. If you guys have any questions as well, especially those of you that listen to the end of the show, love to try to get to those on Locked On Utes. On tomorrow's show, my interview with Smith Snowden will be coming out. I got that at Big 12 Media Days. I had a great time talking to Smith. So please enjoy that tomorrow. And we'll be back with you talking about your favorite team every day, the Utah Utes, tomorrow. Hope to see you then.